Hey, what's going on guys? Jet XC here, and we're here to talk about the new Star Master mode that unlocked today. This is the Pokemon type of gameplay that Snowbreak was going over in their trailer and also in the patch notes. So I'm going to quickly explain to you briefly what you do. Essentially, you go around defeating certain types of enemies, and once you defeat them, you can capture them as your own, essentially. And then you use those enemies to fight other enemies and capture more enemies. Now, there's a certain amount of enemies you can have on your side. As you level up your Trailblazer level, you get more points to add more enemy units on your team. So, say you're level 5, which I was able to get to, you get around, I think it's 9 points. So some enemies, the higher tier they are that you capture, the more points they require to put on your team. So say you have a unit that is purple tier, right? Those purple tier units are typically the units that do more damage and that were harder to beat. That unit may cost 4, and then you'd have to adjust other points and use smaller, more simpler units that maybe cost 1 or 2 and then put them on your team, right? So pretty interesting. In the background here, you'll see me going through gameplay. And I want to get to a couple of parts here, right? And oh, forgot to mention, there is a mode where there's clear stages and a couple other modes, but clear stage is the one that's unlocked first. You take the units that you've beaten and are on your team, and you use them to clear a bunch of stages, time attack stages essentially, and you defeat waves of enemies within a time limit. Now, let's kind of get into the first part of it, which is this open map world that you have for Snowbreak, where you go and capture these enemies. Number one, the open map is pretty cool, right? I traveled around it. I captured all the enemies. I refreshed, captured again, and I've been all over the map. It's pretty big, like very big. And the mode itself, I'd say it's okay. I'm gonna be honest, it feels kind of empty, which I guess isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's a good start, right? I think Snowbreak has been working on new modes, and I think this mode is kind of getting somewhere to where they'll be able to greatly improve upon it. I think this open world map in general is a great start to not only this Pokemon mode, but other modes. It does feel a little empty, but there are some places where you'll find random enemies. And not just like target point enemies where you could teleport to them and just go find them and fight. There are random areas where you'll just see enemies sitting around. And I will say it's pretty challenging, the mode. You have to be pretty decently high level in order to do this mode. So, you know, you do have trial characters that you can use, thankfully. So for newer players, it's pretty good. But I would say this open world part is okay. But it really does think about, it lets me imagine what other modes they could use for this open world map. Like maybe a survival mode with a team or co-op, you know? Things like that. That's what this map, I hope they take this and use it for other things, right? But in general, I'd say the mode is pretty okay. I think they need to take this open world thing and really expand on it more with multiple other things besides this Pokemon stuff. Right, so that's my opinion on the open world. It's going to take you a bit to capture enough enemies to get to level 5. You're going to probably have to, there's an option to like refresh your the map. I think I refreshed 3 times before I got to level 5. So it's going to take some time. Again, the open world is okay. You get to explore it. It does feel empty, but you know, it really serves its purpose. And you know, Snowbreak recently in live stream for Snowbreak, they've talked about how they're definitely trying to improve game modes and the game in general. So it's going to take time, and that's what they explicitly mentioned about Snowbreak. So we really just got to give them a chance and let them take the time to do it. And I'm okay with that. But yeah, so that's that game mode. Now, once you get to level 5, and you do what you need to do, you've collected enough Trailblazer points to now you're able to do the clear stages. So in the video here, you'll kind of just see me exploring and doing all this type of stuff. And actually, before I even, and I'm rambling on a bit, before I even get to the clear stages portion, The enemy variation, they're pretty challenging. Again, if you're a newer player, you definitely want to use your trial characters. Otherwise, if you've got characters like at least to level 80, you should be okay. The enemy variations are cool. The enemy units that you get to use on your team, they do somewhat help out for the most part. Sometimes the AI of the characters can be a little weird, and they'll just stand there after they defeat an enemy and you're like facing an enemy yourself. But I think for the most part it's okay, right? I kind of wish, and I know this is asking for much, but I kind of wish you could do more in this game mode besides like roll around and just run. I've talked about this multiple times, but if there was some kind of like grappling feature or like parkour feature where you're running on walls, you know, multiple ways to kind of get around. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but I feel like that would traversing around the map would be much more fun and cool. But yeah, the enemy AIs, they work like I'd say 80% of the time. Sometimes they're a little wonky, which is okay. Certain enemy units, like I explained, there's like blue and purple. Purple units are the higher tier units, so you'll easily be able to see the difference, and they definitely do more damage when you equip them, but they also cost more, like I mentioned earlier. And yeah, you just want to basically have those units on your team and then keep playing till you hit level 5, right? And in this game mode, I definitely got to try out the new unit, Cherno, a little bit more. I actually made my own. Essentially, I call it Team Booty. It was Haru, Life, and Cherno, and it's you have to have the street skin for Life with the short shorts, and then you have to have like a Haru skin. The I forgot what it's called, but it was the Battle Pass Haru skin to where her butt is showing off a little bit more. But I kind of made that team and just had fun with it while I was kind of farming. But anyway, yapping even more. So let's talk about clear stages. So in clear stages, you face a horde of enemies. You have a time limit. You use the enemies that you have that are your Pokemon essentially, and you basically have a time limit to defeat the enemy horde. Now, if all of your units die, you fail the mission. That's something I learned around stage 4 of this mission, or of this mode. So you have to be very careful. And again, you really have to have some strength in units. It's definitely advised if you don't have the levels to use the trial characters. But there's around, oh gosh, I was scrolling through the clear stage. There's at least like 25 to 30 stages, so this mode will definitely occupy some hardcore players for sure. I stopped around 5, and even 4 for me was a little difficult, not because I was dying, but because my units were getting destroyed. And I don't know, there's got to be some type of method where either you have to defeat the enemies or you have to aggro them yourself, because you don't want your units to get beaten. It will be very quick at around stage 4 and up to where the enemies are destroying your group, right? So you have to keep that in mind. And every couple stages you'll face like boss level characters, I'll say. So yeah, it's pretty, clear stages is pretty fun. Overall, I like the direction. I think the open world needs slight improvements. And you know, when I think about it, maybe is it the fact that it's too big? I'm not sure. But I think just they need to keep exploring with this open world concept, because I think it's going to get to the point where this could easily be like a co-op mode, or they could easily do like some survival mode. And yeah, it would just be even cooler. The clear stages mode, I'd say it's pretty fun. It's a pretty solid mode. You really get to test out your skills. Anything where you can test out your skills in this game and the level of your units, I think is fine. So I'd say overall, Star Master is a pretty... And again, we haven't gotten the other modes unlocked, but so far I think it's okay. The kind of boring part may be the open world. I think it gets a little repetitive just because it's not as dynamic as clear stages, right? So that's the only thing. But overall, guys, I would say definitely give this mode a try. I like the direction where they're going, and again, hopefully they explore more with this open world setting, because I think this is the key to their success, having this open world, doing co-op missions, and other things in general. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hope you liked the video, and I am out of here. Later.